Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. And welcome to a new episode of Filmmaker Talks. Today, my guest is Joshua Martins. He's also a filmmaker from the US. And yeah, just for you as a notice, because that will be also available as a podcast. So if you're watching it right now on YouTube, I will link the podcast down below. Or if you're hearing it at the moment and you feel like you want to see our smiling faces. The YouTube link is also down below. Joshua, how are you?
I'm good. It's early morning. I would say it's 10 a.m. here, but I'm doing well. Can't complain.
Yeah. So, am I right that you're living in the bigger area of Chicago? Is it right? Or Indianapolis, something like that?
So I live in South Bend, Indiana. So that's kind of in between Indianapolis and Chicago. If it's 2 hours difference either way, but yeah, I'm in a small little city, quiet town. It's quite nice. I don't like the hustle and bustle of the city sometimes, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you about your filmmaking career. How was it for you? Did you went to or did you go to film school or did you just learn it by yourself or how was it for you?
Yeah. Well, my journey was an interesting one. I have a background in photography. That's where I started. I was self-taught early on, high school, and then when I did go to college, I went into fine art photography for my bachelor's degree. Midway of that, they had introduced my university introduced documentary filmmaking, and I was super interested in it because it was a whole new medium, a whole new way of understanding visual arts. So I took all the classes I could. I took cinematography 1 and 2, directing 1 and 2, post production, and I was just in love because it was so much more dynamic than photography, in my opinion. I love photography. That's the base of everything that we do visually. But moving pictures and having the whole production, understanding all of that was just mind blowing. So my beginnings started a little bit later than most people, I guess you can say. Well, maybe not, but yeah, I took courses for filmmaking. It was documentary filmmaking at the time. So right out of college, I was on my first job filming a documentary for my church. That was over about 3 months, and we were traveling all out west, so California, Nevada, Utah, Montana, South Dakota. Like we were all over the place on the west, which was fantastic to get that first experience hands on. And then after that, my journey has been a mix of higher education, meaning I've been working for different universities in their media marketing teams. So I did. I was working for admissions at the University of Miami. I was a production manager, and then from there I moved to South Bend, Indiana, where my wife and I are now, and I was doing media for the University of Notre Dame for communications. And in between that, I was still building up my career on the side with experimental projects, short form docs, promo stuff, the whole gamut that we all kind of do to get our bearings right early on. And that's where I kind of am today. Today I'm in the world of content creation. So I work for Moment. I'm part of the content creation team, so I'm one of their faces and personalities on the YouTube channel. But we do a whole lot of other things behind the scenes just to keep the business going, and then continue to create visual assets and things like that. And then Joshua Martin Studios, my partner and I, we both run that, and we've done large to small budget films, large to small budget projects. And right now we're in a transition somewhat of I'm kind of remarketing myself to be more of a first AC. I love doing DP work. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like my bread and butter and where I'm most efficient at too is building the camera department and building a workflow that's seamless, that's efficient, that works for the DP and director. I love problem solving on set. I've been doing that for a long time, so I can see I always tend to build up my rig, and I'm always doing something to just kind of grow myself and learn myself, point focus, whatever have you. So I'm in that in between stage. I'm obviously doing both cinematography, but I would love to do more first AC work too. That was a long answer.
Yeah, no, no worries. But I think I've already heard that because you mentioned it one time in like an IGTV talk or something like that. I think I saw it on your Instagram. Yeah, but very interesting because yeah, that whole rigging stuff can be quite demanding depending on the setup. So you said like you're running the studio together with your partner, and how was it? Um, how were you able like to do like your first film, like in terms of funding? Did you fund it by yourself, or did you had like any people that helped you with that, or how was the whole process of that?
Yeah, so Cody is his name. He is the strategic brains behind finding new clients and just the management side of Joshua Martin Studios, and I'm the visual side. So I lead the directing and things like that. And most of the time, it's a small crew that we work with. So the max is probably about 5 people at most. But and we're hiring other people to help out or asking people to help out. But so last year we had 2 projects that were, one was pro bono and the other one was a $10,000 budget. That was probably the largest one we had in recent years since starting in 2018. So $2,000 budget is small, but it was big for us because we don't really we're in a place where we don't have to like grind as much as most people to do freelance work because we have 9 to 5 jobs. We kind of balance that out that way, so we can kind of pick and choose what we want, and we landed on this job. So for that doc, it looked more like a director came to us because he was commissioned to do this project. He said, hey, this is the budget we're looking for. Here's the scope of the project. We looked it over, drafted up a contract, in which Cody handles the contracts too. We'll both go over, but he'll kind of formulate that. We create our terms and conditions and things like that, and then we kind of just move on from there and start shooting on the production day. It's a very simple process because most of the time we don't have to deal with a lot of um, loops and boundaries most people have to do. But in the end, sometimes the end product doesn't always pan out. Unfortunately, the documentary is being on hold right now because there's some changes they want to make. So I don't know if they're going to rehire me to shoot anything else. It was good on our end, but the higher ups want to change something else. But anyway, so that's how that goes. And then for projects that I want to explore and just kind of test a few things, I work with a dance company here, a contemporary dance company, and we had a very ambitious project which took both projects, by the way, took over 6-7 months to create. This one was filming a non-linear experimental film based on a loose concept of what the dancers were wanting to speak about. So that was more of, on my end, I took more control in that. Oops, I got notifications popping in. I don't know if you heard that. um, and yeah, that was more of my direction to kind of keep things on task and kind of run. So being a smaller production company, you wear a lot of hats. So I was the DP, I was the producer, I was the cinematographer at first. They see all those things. I did have some assistants here and there, but that's how we kind of went about it. So that's how jobs typically go. With us, we just finished up another project from a company locally here. That went a little bit more seamless as well. So we kind of keep it pretty compact and tight and tidy.
So when you're talking about like documentary film work, how is your approach? Because I think, or that's the feedback that I always get from people that are just starting out in filmmaking, that they don't have a clue how I gonna tell my story, like how does it come together for you when you have like the idea? How do you approach it visually?
How do I approach it? I think what's the beauty about documentary and just filmmaking in general. There's really no like traditional way of approaching things. I mean, there is some, yeah, there is some, but like other ways, it's like there's no blueprint. There's some necessary things you need to get done. So for me, like for the documentary, so for instance, I do want to make a documentary for myself this year, and I'm going to be kind of funding it and kind of running it myself. So how I would approach it is, one, what's the story I'm interested in, and then in just basic form, can I write out the story, or can I just record myself telling the story, and then can I get a better sense of how I can guide that interest for me, to create a film, and the time doesn't really matter at that point. You just want to just make sure you have something that's interesting to you first. Then you can find the necessary parties to kind of join you to help bring that vision, or you can do it all on yourself. So that's my daughter. I don't know if you heard that. My daughter's in the background knocking. She hears our voice. So that's how I kind of see it, and from my perspective, because if there's no extra parties outside of yourself, then you can kind of really take full control of what that story is and your interests about it. And then if there is parties involved and money involved, like bigger budgets involved, there is a process. You will work with a producer, you will work with a director, and sometimes a rep from whatever the company is. They have a scope and vision, and from there you just do a lot of pre-production. So you guys all be on the same page, understand what the story is, what the necessary people and voices have to be in it. So you do all that on the beginning side. So it really depends on the scale that you're working at. And you can do this, and you don't need to wait to get a job that has the money. If you want to, like you were saying earlier, if you're just starting out, just find a story that's interesting to you, and then plan to shoot that story. Who are the characters? How do you make it flow? And if you need help, always reach out to filmmakers like us, because we're more than happy to help you out or talk it through.
Right. Yeah, very interesting to hear, because everybody is different, right? So for me, basically, it is the way that because I'm doing mostly like commercial work and stuff, and when I like come up with a concept for a commercial, I'm like the type of person. Unless I have a specific idea in mind, or a specific shot that I want to pull off, or that I think that fits the product, and then I can build a story around it. But most of the time, I'm just like, I need to find the music. And then when I hear the music and the pace and everything, then the images start to pull off in my head. And that's, I don't know, that's the way how it works for me. I have found some other filmmakers that they say that's like the same, but yeah, that's very interesting to hear how everybody is like different in that approach.
Yeah, I do take the music approach when I have something that's smaller, bite size, that I can kind of visualize from beginning to end very quickly. And I do just like jump on Epidemic Sound, a music bed, or just something, or music I just like. I'm like, man, I like this feel, I like this tone. Then I can actually build out all the visuals from there. And other times I had to do it straight from a script, straight from a pre-interview. Oh, that's one thing I didn't mention too. I do pre-interviews as well. So if I have a character or a person in mind that's for the story that's going to carry the story, I sit down with them, interview them like I'm doing with you right now, and then just get a sense of it. So from there, I'll make a transcript, and from that transcript, I'll start building out what the story is. So that's another way to do it.
Yeah, very interesting. So you also, I imagine you also do that, like, because I've never really, yeah, I've shot a documentary, but not in the sense like you do, because here in Germany it's a little bit different, like in the US. um, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think you're gonna do that to chat with the people, to also get a sense of who is your character, and maybe how is he acting in front of the camera, and what is to, yeah, to, how to say, to get warm with the people, right?
Yeah, building somewhat of a repertoire or relationship on camera is going to greatly help you direct the questions, help you direct the feel of the story, make them. I mean, and some directors have their own, like every director has a philosophy. Some people have that cold approach. They want to get the hard facts, reporter type style. Other people want to get to know the person and really connect with their story. So, yeah, it's a lot of different ways to approach it.
Okay. So you said like you're working for Moment. I'm not sure. Aren't they based in California or something like that?
They're based in Seattle, Washington. Our headquarters is based in Seattle, Washington, but majority of us are remote actually. There's a couple of us here in the East Coast. I'm more central than most people, and then the rest of everyone are like California, Arizona, Washington. They're kind of like we're all kind of spread all over the place. Yeah. This is it's neat though. I've never been a completely remote job before, so it has its pitfalls and it has its successes for sure.
You are also a ZCam owner.
I am a proud ZCam owner.
Me too. What was your or what was your kind of let's say stages that you worked with different cameras that you worked with in the past, and why you decided on taking on or yeah, using like a Zcam, right? Because for many people, I always get asked myself why you're shooting on a Zcam.
So my camera journey is a wild one. I guess my first video camera I've ever used was a Canon T1i. That was when they had their first Rebel series, part of the first Rebel series, and I shot a lot of short form content with my sister and myself. So that was the start of everything, really. Jumping ahead, I got my hands on a C100 back in college. I did a lot of projects with that, so I understand the Canon system. Then from there, I went to the Sony FS7, and I was an operator for actually now more like 7 years, with the Sony FS7. 7 years, how old was that camera? I came out in 2014. I used it up to so about 6 years, 2020. And then in between that, I've shot with the Red Raven, Red Gemini, the Arri Miras, and then personally, I like to I like to own my cameras. So I've owned a GH5. I had a GH4 at the time too, and then from there I got the Blackmagic Pocket. That was I really like that experience with the Blackmagic Pocket, understanding raw workflow. And it's funny, the raw workflow it's like working with photography, raw images in that sense, right? So, but understanding the exposure index and all those things. That was a really great introduction for, I guess, a quote unquote cinema camera, even though it was that DSLR style body. And so, so moving on from there, that's when I was really getting interested in the Zcam. And what I like to do is when I own a camera, I tend to not look at any other new camera for about a year so I can really understand and dive into the system. Because I mean, we all, I don't want to say we all, but I know a lot of people have that itch to always see what's next, see what's new, but they never take the time to understand their system. And that's what we're paid to do. We're paid to understand a system. We can't just buy something and then like immediately want something else when we haven't even learned the first camera we bought. That's kind of like my philosophy behind it. Even though I do talk about gear a lot, I only talk about the things I actually use. So I first was introduced to Zcam because I know Andrew from SLR Magic, and he was kind of like my connection to Kinson. And you're in the Facebook group too, right? Yeah, that group is great, but wild at the same time. It can be a madness. But I met Kinson in person, and at the time I was using the Blackmagic Pocket, and so he was trying to convince me that this is the better system, and rightly so. That's his job. He's pushing his camera brand basically. But I got to test out the F8 and the F6 in 2019 of November. And I actually enjoyed that workflow. I was super new to it. I loved the form factor of Zcam. So it took me another 8 months or so to kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna just make that move. I'm gonna move from the Blackmagic Pocket because the Pocket, in a sense, was a bit limiting in terms of future proofing. I wanted to be able to have interchangeable mounts or use different lenses on the same system without buying a metal bones. I didn't like using the metal bones. There's some just optical things that didn't settle with me. So fast forward, I bought the S6 summer of last year, and so now it's summer of last year, and so I've thoroughly enjoyed using this camera. The image to me is like a scientific image, sort of like red, meaning like it can get really accurate color representation at times if you're shooting it correctly. But it leans to like that film emulating sensor like an Arri is. So there's sometimes it retranslate what greens are, what blues are, to make it more of a filmic look. And I kind of like that in between because you could kind of go both ways in a sense. And so I'm still kind of nailing down what my process of color grading it right now. Right now you're looking at a Rec 709 sensor color from there, and I think that's good out of the box too. A little bit of tweaks, and you're pretty good to go. But using Z-Log and understanding the exposure and all that stuff, it's a very powerful camera. How much recovery you have in the highlights. And then recently I picked up the F6, and that's this guy back here. I used both these cameras, like I said, on the docs and project stuff last year. I used nothing but the ZCam S6. This year, we shot our Moment Film Festival announcement video with these two cameras. That was a really great chance to get both these systems going at the same time. Most of the time I had the S6 on a gimbal ready just to go, and then the A camera, the F6, was just really already rigged up, and I just need to just change out lenses. And that, man, having two cameras in that workflow, it's just so much easier. Yeah. And you're a F6 owner and a Komodo owner, right, too?
Yeah, kind of a little bit crazy because I was also using like the Blackmagic Pocket, and I basically love the camera and the workflow and everything. But then I decided to get the red Komodo because most of the time I'm working with agencies, and when they ask something like they want to have the footage or something like that, or also here, like, like the red marketing system, everybody who's not really like in the film industry kind of knows red. So that was why I always got like questions from the agencies, can we shoot it on red? And so I thought that maybe would be a great invest to buy the red Komodo. And then I was sitting with my Blackmagic Pocket, and then I was like thinking, hey, I need a second camera that would be much more versatile when I'm shooting like smaller gigs for something. And for me, the camera has to do everything. So it has to be great in low light, it has to have a great image. And for that specific reason, I don't need really RAW because I have it in my Komodo. And I thought, like, because I have tested the ZCam for like 2 weeks and I really enjoyed it, actually. Yeah. And then I thought, yeah, maybe why not just getting the F6, because I have already tons of full frame lenses because I've always shot on full frame cameras. And I really enjoyed the form factor because most of the time when I'm doing some gigs, I'm just by myself, maybe having a sound guy and maybe like a director or something like that, and I'm carrying the camera all day on the easy rig. And that setup was kind of heavy on the let's say it was unnecessary heavy on the Blackmagic Pocket because of the form factor and the battery solution. And I really like, for me, that was the thing that pushed me around, that you can power this camera with a simple NPF battery and it's running all day long. And also, like, yeah, dynamic range, I knew it was great and everything. And also I think the colors are better than on the Pocket, but I think it's mostly due to the fact that the Pocket has a problem with IR pollution. So always, even when I was using it, I kind of had like the kind of reddish tone in the skin tones or something, and it was always kind of So I was really surprised, basically, how great the ZCam is, and I really love what they did with the form factor, that I can use it as I want to, and that you have also the benefits of, because when you want to have high quality, then you use ProRes, or if you want to, you can even use RAW, or if you just have a really small gig, you can shoot H.265, and it's still editable, at least on my system. So, and I think that was really great. One thing that I wanted to ask you in that sense is, because I also have a friend, he is an owner of the S6, and he's always asking me, he finds the image of the F6 not as filmic as the S6. I'm not sure because I've never really shot with the S6, but I think the Pocket 6K and the S6, they share the same sensor, right? Yeah, and I found that the image of the Pocket, it always looked really organic and filmic. but I haven't done any specific test on that right now. But I think I'm really pleased with the image. So that maybe what I wanted to ask you: how do you think in a direct comparison? What are the differences image-wise?
To be honest, like I didn't find a difference. They they claim to have one extra stop of dynamic range from the F6. And, that's all. That's all marketing. And for the most part, I think they're pretty equal. What wins the F6 is in low light because of the bigger sensor. But I mean, if you what's great about using the same system, either Super 35 or the full frame, you can match these so easily. Like I haven't done a test right out the gate, like what does the Rec 79 looks like compared to this. I have a lot of footage and I can actually go sit and look at it because I didn't do the editing for the video for the moment thing, but I mean we shot all of it on these cameras. But all that being said, I have all the confidence that you can obviously make these cameras matches really well, and then it all depends on your process. Because like right now, I like to use Film Convert, and there's another it's a great little tool, and once you finesse it and get it down, you can make it really look really good aesthetically. And another company called Behance. Yeah, have you seen them before? I have a trial and I haven't used the trial yet, but that seems real. I like their philosophy and method on applying like film grain and stuff. So I really want to dive into that. But like I was saying earlier, like you can go kind of either way with this camera. You can make it look super scientific and accurate, or you can go the other way, which is a benefit. So I haven't done direct test yet, but yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I personally really like both systems, and I also like that both have like these cube size form factor. I really enjoy shooting with them, so I think I'm really happy. And I think the cameras are great, and I think they have really moved things forward in the industry, because now I'm not sure, but I think ZCam was maybe one of the first one that came out with this cube size form factor, and now everybody is wanting to have that. So yeah, I think it's
Well, I mean, Black Magic did it a while ago. They had their micro. You remember their micro, and then there's some other form, the other cube, almost like it was a rounded cube. What was it? The production thing? I remember that. But I want to ask you. I want to go back a little bit because you had mentioned. I actually talked about this a little bit in one of my last vlogs. You mentioned how agencies want the red, versus any other camera, and you won't really fight that. So no, use the ZCam instead. No, you won't do that. But I find that interesting because it is difficult for a third-party camera manufacturer like ZCam to have that awareness from other clients to be like, yeah, you can totally shoot on your ZCam. Versus like what's the standard? The standard is Sony, Canon, and Red and Ari, right? And I just find it interesting. Do you ever see yourself bringing this on possibly to a higher end job without, like, I guess, the client knowing, or is the conversation always like, what camera package are you going to bring?
so here in Germany. So personally, when I'm working with like a client, so like a company, and they hire me to shoot like corporate video or something like that, whatever the case may be, right? All they really gonna care is like they hire me because they want to have a great video, great image, and uh, they never asked me even if I showed up with my back in the day with my Canon 1DX or Canon EOS R, or now with the ZCam. They basically don't care. But when I kind of leveled up and got more into like the high paying projects and bigger clients, and they always communicate with you, or they always hire like an agency to do like their work for them, right? And these agencies are very kind of, I don't know, really marketing driven kind of stuff, and they all know like Red, and for them Red is like a standard, yeah, a standard for quality, and obviously they want to deliver the same quality to other clients, and that's why they always tend to ask, what are you shooting on? And even I truly believe, and I think that's everybody knows that even if you own a red, it doesn't make you any better filmmaker. But it's kind of like that's why I did that. um, also, I but I think I really have to say I really like the image out of the Komodo. I think from the cameras I've shot with, it's the best image that I got. It has I don't know how to. I've never shot with an Ari, even though I'm a German. but yeah. but I think the image has like I don't know. It's like it has some texture in it. It really looks filmic, I think, and I really like the workflow when you're filming like in Red Raw. You can just change the gamma in post production to Rec 709 with a soft highlight roll off, and it looks amazing. So the workflow that they have is really nice, and yeah, that always like was kind of for me when they came up with the Komodo. I knew, okay, it's a great form factor. I can use my CFast cards, which I have plenty of them, and I don't have to use like red proprietary stuff. And yes, exactly. The only thing that I think for me, I think I kind of, when I'm using like day-to-day jobs, I kind of use the ZCam more because it's easier, and for me, it's like, you know, when I'm on a shooting and I don't know what's gonna happen, I prefer to use the ZCam because I know within seconds I can turn it on and start shooting, and that's not always the case on a red, especially. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of really annoying, but the only thing I can say is that the image kind of speaks for itself. So they've done a great job on that, and I really love that different companies are kind of pushing the boundaries, and yeah, I think that's even better for us as a creator that we have so many great choices right now.
Options. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how many options we have within the sub $10,000 category. And it's just like, and people get, I'm sure you get this question a lot. What camera should I get, or what are your thoughts on this? I'm like, just pick a sensor, because any sensor now is more than capable. Like when you're trying to nitpick, like, oh, how's the low light, or how's this, that's really nitpicking nowadays, because my philosophy is you're not going to be shooting in the dark. If anything, get the A7S3. That thing shoots in the dark, basically. So, but yeah, you have to weigh you have to weigh what's your budget, what can you actually afford, and then kind of go from there. I was going to mention, oh crap. Oh well, I was going to say I am looking forward to the third generation of the Zcam, and I'm hoping that they build a more production ready camera. Like, these cameras are great. These micro cinema cameras, these crash cam cinema cameras, and these is like more built for like live streams, small setups like this. I just had this on a little tripod, and then just that in one battery. It's so simple, this camera. But if I can get a production ready camera, meaning I have SDI in and out ports built in, I have the Wi-Fi I have a built-in Ken Affinity is one camera brand I've been looking at for a while too, and their Mavo Edge. I love that design. It's just an airy design concept, an airy mini concept. But that concept really works because, again, you can build it out just like how we build out these cameras. But having a little bit more I/O ports, built-in SDIs, built-in V mount plate or Gold mount plate, probably, maybe, hopefully, like an internal ND system. I know they have that electrical ND system, but I heard it's a little bit cumbersome to use and, like, change settings unless you have like the controller for, what's that handle, the revolver handle, or the, yeah. So like there's a lot of workarounds you can do with the Zcam. I found a workflow that works for me. I just kind of just stay to that. But it would be nice to see a bigger camera in the future, like slightly bigger, like a little bit bigger, with a little more ports and things that are ready. I just got the EVF. Yeah, and I've been needing an EVF because that's why I like if I don't need to have a monitor, I'd rather just be looking at myself, and it's easier to just kind of, and it keeps the rig a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I think my question is always when I get asked. I think you can if you have a decent camera, you can achieve a great look even out of a DSLR or something like that, as long as you know what you're doing. And especially that's why I also totally agree that I don't like renting cameras, because if you really know how your camera works and you know the limitations of your camera, you can yeah, you can create great imagery. The only thing that when you step up your game to like a cinema camera is for like reasons for your client, like in my case, or it's just more easy for your workflow because you have better codecs, you have more dynamic range. It makes life a little bit easier, I think, at the end of the day. Yeah. So, what is your editing system of choice? Do you work in Resolve or what do you use?
I love using Resolve, but last year when I was in between computers, I had I had a 2018 iMac, and when I got the ZCam and I was trying to edit the ZCam footage in DaVinci Resolve 16 at the time, it was such a pain. It was so slow. It couldn't keep up. Even with the 4K, my computer was kind of maxed out, but it wasn't like up to date. So once I made a switch midway of a project because I needed a better workflow, and I switched back to using Final Cut Pro. And that made things a lot more easier because it's optimized. It has the internal decoding and all that stuff. So everything kind of works seamlessly in the background. So since then, I haven't gone back to DaVinci Resolve or any other editing platform because now I have the newer 2020 iMac, and that thing's pretty much a beast for the value that you can get it. And I spec that out, and so I'm sitting here like, man, I want to go back to DaVinci 17 because there's some really nice features that I really want to get into it. But I'm so stuck in the workflow for Final Cut Pro that it's just so much easier. And I've gotten plugins to make things a little bit more easier too, because that's what Final Cut Pro you really need, just plugins to get things like as good. I'm sorry, well, get your editing workflow as good as the other competitors that have it already built in. And that's what's nice. And luckily, I already have the license for DaVinci Resolve, so I can just switch anytime. And I think the newer projects that I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back so I can get back into that system because what I miss is being able to gradually grade and finesse my footage. Final Cut Pro is too. There's not a lot of finessing to it. It's kind of like slider, 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 and there's not much. Yeah, there's not much control. So that's the kind of like the little compromise I'm making right now for efficiency. Like it's so fast, it's so easy to use 6K footage in OpenGate on Final Cut Pro on my iMac. So easy. So I just gotta find the right project to switch back over and work in there. So yeah, that's my story. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not, because I'm using Resolve, and I kind of switched like in the beginning of 2019 because Premiere always kept crashing on me. Yeah, and I think I really like Premiere, and I think it's a great NLE. But I was thinking like, hey, just try out DaVinci Resolve, and I was starting with the free version, and then I just used it for a month, and then I said, yeah, it's great. So I bought it, and ever since then I never really looked back. And I'm using my before I was using a Windows machine, and it was, even the performance wise, was much better on on Resolve. And then I switched to the 2019 iMac, which is maxed out, and I never really had an issue with any footage that I had to edit. Only like the from my Canon R6, which I tend to use from time to time, that H.265 in 4K, it's not possible. But as long as I'm shooting in ProRes, also the H.265 on the ZCam is look, yeah, it works totally fine. And yeah, I personally really also enjoy like the finesse that you can do in grading, because everything is node based and not layer based anymore. That makes much more sense. I'm just kind of getting used to use like Fusion, because like in the when I'm working with clients, I always have to do like lower thirds animations and all that kind of stuff. And not yet. I'm kind of learning. I always tend to go back for that in After Effects, because I was using it all the time in After Effects and it was more time efficient for me. But I kind of already started, and I want to do like some title packs that I can create for me as a macro, and then I can always like redefine it for certain projects. I think that will work great. Yeah, but I think I also like Premiere, but it's something different if you have everything baked into one system like audio. And it's, even though the dynamic link system in Premiere kind of works great, I much more prefer like Resolve, also for stability and overall. It even works fairly smoothly. I have here my 2015 MacBook Pro, which is not great by any means, but with Resolve, it gets the job done pretty great. So
Absolutely. It's I feel like DaVinci Resolve a happy medium between the other two NLEs. And what I just forgot when they introduced the cut page on DaVinci Resolve, I think if I utilize that, that can become my Final Cut Pro speed edit type thing. When it was introduced, I didn't even think about how I can utilize that. But like now thinking about it, that was the purpose: fast turnaround, um, editing. And that's what and since I make more YouTube videos than anything now, that's what I kind of want to have. So I need to this year I'm going to go back into that and see how that works for my workflow. So I was going to mention.
I personally never used the cut page, to be honest.
Yeah, no, yeah, I didn't use it when they introduced it, but I'm like, oh, but that's why they made it. Um, but I wanted, like, my goal of end of last year was to try to be certified to be either Final Cut Pro or DaVinci. The process is kind of hefty for DaVinci Resolve, for both. So I got to take I don't know if you looked at it, but you got to take a few courses and then go. For Blackmagic, you had to physically go. Well, nowadays I think that's might be different because of COVID. Actually, I need to look that up. That might change. I might be able to do it all online now. But I want to be certified. I think having I just want to be able to know the system in and out. Because I do it on my own time. We just kind of just like, oh, how do we do this? Oh, how do we do that? We kind of look it up. But I want to be like, oh, I'm certified in this editing platform or this edit. Yeah, I don't know. I've always wanted to have that as a goal.
So, since you mentioned it, how did COVID change your overall workflow, or your kind of your work as a whole?
Yeah, just like everyone, when it started to kind of roll out and things were just canceling left and right, I lost so many freelance projects. I had like 4 or 5 lined up. I had a big one too. We had this the NCAA is the National College Association, and I had a few gigs for them. All that got canceled because of the tournament got canceled. So it was an adjustment. I wasn't like panicking. I wasn't in panicking mode because I was still working at Notre Dame, but just the conversation now of like comfort levels and safety, that became the first thing we always talked about whenever project we had coming up. And so that's been kind of like ingrained in my workflow now. It's like and there's some some legal things too. I've heard some filmmakers had to make documents on if you do become sick on this thing, you have to have certain waivers and all that stuff. So I haven't gotten to that deep, but I always have the conversation of safety. What does that look like? But I was actually blessed in a situation where I could move between jobs. That's why I moved from Notre Dame to Moment. That was a huge blessing because I wasn't sure how long I would be at Notre Dame just because of how things might go. And since I was fairly young on the team, I had a feeling I'll probably be the first one to go anyway. So let me just look at my options. Just to play it safe. I had a family, so I was like, well, I need to make sure I have something ready. And then the moment job came out of just pure curiosity and just scrolling on Twitter, and I was like, you know what, I should just do it. Let's just do it. I've always liked Moment, and I think I can make it work. And next, you know, I'm here. So yeah, so COVID was more of just like COVID forced me to really become more intentional with my finances, with my career. Because at the time, it's kind of like, you know, I kind of go with the motion. It's like, no, let me just be a little bit more intentional with whatever I'm doing. So like family, finance, and career, those things really tightened up because of COVID. And it's weird to say that, but like I'm glad that happened because I needed to grow a lot. I needed to grow a lot between now and then, and I think I have.
Yeah, I think it kind of forced everybody to move differently, and also in my case, a lot of jobs have been cancelled, which I was really stoked to do, and they haven't continued since now. And I really, for me at least right now, because I'm mostly working with companies and I'm doing like this, commercial works stuff. It's not affecting that as a whole, but for some other colleagues or other filmmakers that are only focused on like event stuff, for them it's really hard because there's nothing to do. But I'm really glad that I did, because my dad, he used to be like he was an entrepreneur or something. Yeah, it is the word in English. So he has his own business, and he taught me back when I was young how to manage your money, and I was kind of smart enough to invest, not having sitting it on a bank account. So in investing it in something like ETFs and even some bitcoins. I know there's a lot of risk in there, but it turned out to be that it was a great option. And also I looked like what I can do differently, more how can I transform my business into be more digital than it was before. So that really helped. So yeah, but even though still it's a hard time, and I still hope that the gym is gonna be, it's like closed for almost like several months. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And I was really glad that the barber shop opened again, or no, what, the hair cutter it's called. Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah. Yeah, it's really different times, but I think it just, especially here in Germany, it moved the kind of society forward to be more digital. Also, how everything went in schools, and they had to find so many different times because they were barely using the internet. It seems like stupid, but it was the way. And I, especially because I'm originally from Berlin and now I'm living in the area close to Munich, but it's a smaller city. And whenever I was working here with clients, and for them, video was like, maybe it's useful, but they haven't figured out why it is useful for their business, right? Because everything comes here in Germany. It is like everything what's a trend comes from the US, and it takes a little while to get things running here. But yeah, I think it's hopefully things only can get better, I think, and so at least everybody is healthy, then everything is fine. um, but yeah, what are your plans for 2021? Do you have any specific plans that you want to do, or besides from being a certified Resolve trainer?
For sure. Like I want to continue making more long form content. So I have a few docs in mind that I want to kind of tackle, and another like small series. I really want to kind of sharpen my skills a bit more, um, and then just try to get on sets that I can be first AC. I've talked to a few other production companies to kind of pitch myself. So that's been an interesting thing to do, pitching yourself as the first AC, and so far it's been a welcome thing, because productions are starting to kind of ramp up here in the East Coast, I guess you can say, and they are looking for like freelancers. I need to update my website. That's a goal this year for sure. That thing is so dusty. It's so dusty right now, and just kind of rebrand myself. Because right now I use Instagram and social media to really keep things update. But people still find I always get emails. Hey, I have this project, and I'm like, wow, you're looking at my work from like 4 years ago. So that's another goal. But yeah, I just want to keep making stuff. And just have it just a overall better balance. My wife and I are expecting our second child this year, so that's going to be a fun one. Yeah, it's been a joy being a dad, and I want to definitely do that more, obviously, because I'm a stay-at-home dad, and that's been a fantastic experience in itself. So I just gotta find a better balance, because I don't want things to kind of fall through the cracks or just get burnt out, and I've done that before. So yeah.
So, what would be your ultimate advice that you would give to other filmmakers that are just starting out? If you only had to pick one, what would it be?
Something I've learned from myself recently is don't hesitate to get something started. And I say that because I've looked at my life, and the times where I reached out to a company or decided to make a film, like I just didn't think, I didn't second guess myself. I just went ahead and do it, and just expect to say, well, if there's a no, then just pivot. If there's a yes, just kind of go with it. And I say that because I know a lot of people are hesitant to get something started. And at this point, it's like, what do you have to lose? You might not have the knowledge, sure, but like, how else would you gain the knowledge? You have to kind of put yourself in that situation to kind of start learning. And I'm talking to those who like to have everything kind of perfect, kind of prepared. Yes, there's a place and time for everything for that. But other times, if that's keeping you from actually making something or trying something different, or yeah, just anything like that, then you need to just kind of break out of that and just go do it. And this sounds like a weird plug right now, but like, we just launched our Moment Film Festival, and that's, you literally use your phone to make a film, and you have no excuse now for having a high-end camera or a camera that looks like that. You can use your phone, create a story, and submit it. Like, that's the easiest way to kind of, for any contest, for anything that you want to try to become or shoot or film, like, that's your chance now. You can win money, you can win prizes. So I just had to throw that in there. We have our film festival, but like, that's why I say, just don't hesitate to start something new, and or just go do it. Literally just go start doing stuff.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I kind of have the same, because I was also 2 to 3 years ago, I was working for a company, and I was doing like videography as a side hustle, but it always was my passion, and I was thinking like, oh, should I do it? And now looking back, I can clearly, if I wouldn't have taken the decision to just do it, then I think I wouldn't have become to the place where I'm at right now, because you only grow with the challenges that you put yourself into. Yeah, and that really helped me. So don't just, yeah, as you just said, just do it and try to make the best out of it. I think that's.
Mm-hmm. You have to embrace mistakes. You have to embrace things you just don't know. Yeah, yeah. So the more you do the things, yeah, the better.
Yeah, and actually, if you reach out to and you don't have any clients or anybody who wants to hire you, you have to reach out. And the worst thing that they're gonna say is no, but there are plenty of so many other options that you can do, and eventually anybody will say, yeah, let's do something great together, and from there you kind of work up your way, I guess.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, Joshua, it was really great talking with you, chatting with you. I think it was really great to hear your thoughts on filmmaking and how the industry is changing, and also camera industry and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was really, really great. Thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate that.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was fun. I'm glad you reached out. I'm a consumer of your content, so I look forward to what you put out.
Yeah, I'm still thinking like I have such a small community, because I just started like half a year ago with starting like doing it finally in English. Um, but yeah, kind of, I think, kind of want to keep growing, and whenever I can travel again and I will be in the US, then we definitely have to keep in touch.
Link up. Yeah, let's do it. You got my Instagram, so we can chat.
So, yeah, as I've said, thank you very much. And yeah, stay safe, and hopefully chat with you again soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Bye bye.